Hey everyone, it's time for story number 34, where I'm going to focus specifically on my latest injury, a bicep tear. My name is Phil, and you're listening to The Lip. Alright, everybody, I am here and I am ready to talk to you about another injury. I am focusing this story episode number 34 about my injured bicep that I tore very recently. Gonna go over that. But first, I must tell you that um, the paintings that I'm going to show you, and I did say paintings plural, these are a series of paintings that I created. And I call it the Protector Series. The first, considering that 9/11 happened to have been earlier this week, because as I record, it is September 12th, 2024, my mother's birthday. Happy birthday. I figured that the Protector series would be a good set of paintings to show, considering that 9/11 was 23 years ago, the terror attack on our country. So I guess it'd be a really good idea to use these paintings as the background. The first one that you see right there is called Walls, the first of the Protector series. This one has the colors red, green, and blue in a specific pattern because those are the colors that represent the groups of corrections officers that I worked with in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in the prison that I worked in. The blue, red, and green represent my brothers and sisters. The brown that engulfs the entire painting, that's the color that the inmates wear. The only thing that keeps us safe from those inmates are those other people who are in those color groups, the red, the blue, and the green, which I have represented right there. The next painting I've got for you is this one I call the Big Four. I used colors representing the big four armed forces that we have based on people who I know who are a part of these big four forces. I'm not sleeping on either the Space Force or the Coast Guard. It's just I don't know anybody who was in those. So I'm using these colors to represent people who I know who were in the armed forces, the Marines, the Air Force, the Army, and the Navy. This next piece I call Heat for obvious reasons. Um, it's a representation of the fire department and the EMTs here in the city of Philadelphia and abroad. And I think that those people are some of the most brave people you'll ever meet. Anybody willing to run into a burning building, there's something special about them. And finally, I have a piece that I call Order. Now, this piece is going to be the one that's going to stand out as the background for the entirety of this episode because of a very unfortunate reason. It turns out that the Philadelphia Police Department lost a brave young man this week. Unfortunately, he was doing a routine traffic stop on June 22nd of this year. And he was shot, taken to the hospital, and had been in the hospital since he was shot on June 22nd. Unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries a couple of days ago. It's horrible and it is sad. Officer Jamie Roman did what he did because he was a hero. Unfortunately, there are plenty of us who would not be able to do what he did, but he was willing to do it. And for that, I thank him for his sacrifice. And I want to hold a moment of silence for Officer Roman right now. Rest in peace. As far as this episode goes, story number 34 is going to be unlike my other story episodes. For those of you who have not listened to my show on Spotify, when it comes to a story episode, I typically break down 3 different stories that have happened in my life. Now, I had recently said on another episode that I was going to pull back from the story episodes because I wanted to have some more recent stories to tell. And unfortunately, I have one. And I'm going to get into it on this episode. But it's only going to be one because there's plenty of meat on the bone for this one. But now I'm going to go into fill in the blanks. And today's episode's fill in the blank question is, what is a routine traffic stop? The answer to that is, there is no routine traffic stop. There isn't any. Any of the men and women who wear the uniform as a police officer, who pull somebody over because they did a traffic violation, rolled through a stop sign, went 15 miles over the speed limit, something that you could just get a ticket for, you don't know what that person's intentions may be when they see a police officer come to the car. So, there is no such thing as a routine traffic stop. God bless all of our police officers, because you just don't know how any of those stops are going to end. You just don't know. Because you're walking up there with the intentions of giving somebody a corrective action for something that they did that they shouldn't have, and you just don't know what's in their mind or what's in their system. So even on what would people consider a routine situation, it's far from routine. So the question is, what is a routine traffic stop? And the blank that is filled in is, there's no such thing. And now I'm going to go into the main event. The bell is going to ring for story number 34, where I talk to you about my bicep tear. Where do I begin? You begin at the beginning. It's always a good place, right? And the beginning of this bicep tear injury has to be August 2nd, 2024. This year, August 2nd. I was talking to my mother about a news report that she was watching, where the reporter was going from one different gym to another, seeing different people exercise in different ways. This is one that some elderly people were at, and there was no heavy gym, no power lifters, nothing like that. Just people trying to maintain flexibility and keep their health going a little bit, right? And one of the things I was telling her and she was talking to me about was these people doing these curls exercises. And I told her you didn't have to have weight and you could use some weight if you wanted to. But I told her essentially what I was told back in my early days of beginning to lift weights, which is something that I held on to up until I really stopped being a gym rat, which was when I was in end of ninth grade, beginning of 10th grade in the weight room. One of my weight coaches noticed that I had been doing a lot of curls. I'd spend a lot of time doing curls to make those beach muscles look big. The peaks, the bicep, make them look nice and powerful when you big flex and all you see is the big bicep, right? The beach muscle. Of course, living in the Manahawkin area, Seaside and Long Beach Island were really close, so the beach muscles certainly were something that everybody liked. But he told me, hey, you're a shot putter and discus thrower. That bicep has two heads, and there's the smallest two heads in your upper arm. Tricep has three heads, and they are the majority of your arm. And essentially where your power is going to be generated from your arm is going to be the tricep. And so he's like, you should probably put some more time into that. And so I took him very literally, and from that point on, really didn't work my biceps specifically to focus on them. I would get some bicep work in based on not necessarily happenstance, but as a result of doing some other exercises, there could be a little element of bicep work in it. It's not going to be the focal point, but they're going to be reacting. Say, if you do some lat pull downs, believe it or not, there is an element where you get a slight work into your bicep. Same thing with push ups and stuff like that. It's not the focal point, but they get a little bit of work, and that's really where my bicep work ends. Now we go to August 3rd, 2024, my Uncle Willie's birthday. Cheap plug, I did a show about that very recently. In fact, the show came out on his birthday. You can catch that one here on YouTube. And what ended up happening was I dropped something. I can't remember exactly what it was, because after the incident, I don't even think I found it. I don't remember even looking for it any further. I just had other priorities, unfortunately. But I dropped something, what I thought went to the side of the couch. I looked and I couldn't find it. So I got up and I walked behind the couch to sort of see if I could find it back there. My daughter Aurora comes down the stairs and she's sort of watching and waiting. Instead of doing the smart thing and asking her to just sort of reach under there and see if she could find it, what I did was, knowing that I had this bulging disc which caused me to retire from the corrections officer job that I knew that I wasn't going to just hulk up and pick up the couch. So I just went down a little bit and kneeled down a little bit and grabbed the couch with my right arm in a curling position, figuring I could just lift it just a little bit and feel my left hand underneath it. And so that's what I did. Took my right arm and I grabbed the couch, and my left arm was there waiting to sort of feel anything underneath. As I go, I pick the couch up ever so slightly. I probably get it up an inch to 2 inches, maybe 3 tops. And when it got to that highest point that I could lift it in a curl position, I felt and kind of heard 5 to 4 pops go down from my upper arm all the way down, skip past my elbow where I could feel the skip. And then I felt one more pop in the top part of my forearm. Instantaneously, I dropped the couch, that maximum of 3 inches. I stood straight up, my arms straightened all the way out. I was in incredibly intense pain. I just was like, didn't know what to do for a minute because the pain was so bad. My daughter looked at me and said, "Looks, you're okay?" I'm like, don't think so. I'm not sure. Now, I'm going to pause for just a second, and I'm going to fast forward to yesterday, September 11th. I was talking to her, and I told her about how bad it is, and she said, "Yeah, I heard those pops." And I thought, wow, your bones are all creaking, and they're stretched out. So, what she told me yesterday, September 11th, 2024, was that in August 3rd, when I did the injury, she actually heard the popping sound. She heard it. And that made me go, oh my goodness. So that wasn't just in my head, that actually she could hear it. And that was very unnerving. Back to August 3rd. The intense pain was just going through me. And I immediately did what I know is the smartest thing to do, which is when you think that you might have hurt yourself really bad, you go and you put ice on the injury. And that's essentially what I did. I iced it. I put my hoodie on because the pocket in the hoodie, I could stick my hand in it and make it almost like a splint, and I could put the ice inside the sleeve. And so that's what I did. And I pretty much iced it for a couple days. And I said, alright, it's not as intense, the pain, but it still hurt. I'm going to give it a little bit of time. Of course, I'm a Generation X guy. What will we do when we get hurt like that? We just go grab some dirt and rub it on it and keep going. Yeah. A couple weeks go by. Pain's still there. I'm icing it. And then I asked my daughter Maggie and my mom, who were downstairs in the living room at the time, and I said, this thing just feels so weird. Not just does it hurt, but it just feels strange. Like I'm feeling a little bit of numbness in my fingers, and I'm having a tough time holding an empty plate or a loaf of bread when I go to the store. The loaf of bread is heavy in my right arm. And so I asked my daughter, Maggie, and my mother on a different time, to look at my left arm and then to look at my right arm and to see if you see anything. And both of them agreed that there was some weird looking spot in my right arm. And it's like, in my mind, I'm like, there's no way. There's just no way that I tore my bicep. Because that's the first thought that came to mind. Because rewind back to August 2nd, when I was telling my mother about, biceps, you don't really need to work on them. They're not that important of a muscle. Well, that was in my mind. And finally, the pain was at a point where I was tired of it, and the weakness and in my arm was just too much. Just way too much. The stuff that I couldn't physically do, to a point where I need to get it looked at. So on the 22nd of August, I finally caved in and I went to the doctor, and they found that it looked a little unusual and did some x-rays and wanted me to go have an MRI. Now, of course, I'm a stranger to MRIs. I had the one that showed the bulging disc between L4 and L5, the torn ligament and all the damage in my ankle, and two that showed cartilage tears in my left knee when I was younger. So I've had plenty of bad reports. And of course, I've had a few good ones where there was no damage and I was able to just sort of rest and heal up injuries that I had. And I was feeling like, hey, I'm a veteran at this, unfortunately. I wish that I didn't have to have yet another MRI, but I did. And so I go, get the MRI, they give me the disc, and I set up another doctor's appointment with the orthopedic surgeon so that he can actually go in and see what it looks like on the MRI. He took a look at it, and this was, now we're talking September 10th, that I'm actually seeing the orthopedic doctor, orthopedic surgeon. He takes a look with his, I guess he has a resident that there. He came in first, and he evaluated me and said he noticed some things, and then the doctor came in, and the doctor had looked at the MRI, and he showed me it, and he explained what he was looking at and what was going on. And he confirmed my suspicion. I, in fact, tore my bicep. Yeah. Bicep torn. Now, some of you've probably seen those reels on Facebook or Instagram or somewhere where some meathead is inside the gym curling heavy weight, and all of a sudden, pop! And you see the arm just sort of, the bicep just sort of flex upward. And dude's in intense pain. Now, the doctor explained that is kind of what happened to mine. But of course, as a result of me not really doing a whole lot of bicep exercises, I don't have that pronounced sort of bicep to look at and have that nightmare looking bulge. Mine just sort of rolled up on the inside as opposed to flexing up on the outside like those ones you see on those videos, reels. Now, the doctor explained to me a lot of things in a very short period of time, and his explanations were so complete and at the same time unnerving, because the stuff he told me was like, wow, okay, this is what I'm going to have to work with now. And this is what he told me. The first thing is, when I heard those pops, that essentially was the bicep loosening itself, coming free. The last pop, after it skipped past my elbow and I felt that other pop in my forearm, that's the one that sent my bicep up my arm. Horrible as it may sound, that's what happened. It's sort of like a rubber band snapping. The bicep went up my arm. I thought about it in a way almost like window shade. You know how when you have to pull down those window shades and then they come right back all the way up to the top? That's essentially what happened to my bicep. It sort of came loose from that area around my forearm and went straight up my arm. And that's what happens in the bicep tear. After he explained that to me, he then told me the thing that is a little unnerving. And this unnerving part is what sort of gave me a little bit of a chill in my mind. And that was, he had said, and his associate had said, usually there's about a 6-week window with a bicep tear to be able to fix it as it is. Essentially be able to unroll it and reattach it to the spot where it needs to be. If it's not able to be reattached in that way, they would have to use a graft. And the graft essentially made me feel better, knowing that I hurt myself at the beginning of August. So that was 4 weeks right there. And now we're talking September 10th. I'm right at that 6-week point. So mentally, I'm thinking I'm probably going to need the graft that he was talking about. Now, I hope that I do need the graft. It sounds weird to say it like that, but the graft is probably going to be stronger than the bicep that's now pretty much rolled up in my arm. Because the graft would be an Achilles tendon from a cadaver that they would attach. Which, of course, for those of you who do not know, one of the strongest tendons in your entire body, the human body, is the Achilles tendon. So if they could use an Achilles tendon to replace the bicep, I would be in better shape. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. So it may be a little more, how can I put it, intense of a surgery, and it may be not necessarily a harder recovery time. Either way, it's going to be a difficult procedure, but not an impossible one to get through. But I believe that the end result, after having an Achilles tendon grafted into my arm, would probably be for the better and make me essentially a little bit stronger. But of course, all the other surgeries that I've had, the 2 basic arthroscopies, which is just they go in and they put 3 holes in your knee and they sort of, I didn't get repairs, which means they would have fixed it. They just sort of scooped out the little spot that was torn and they evened it out. That's really easy stuff. I was walking within 2 weeks after that. My ankle surgery, they had to reattach a ligament and remove a piece of bone, and that was pretty intense, and a lot had to go on. And they had to put a screw in to reattach the ligament. A lot of technical things had to go on with that. Now with this bicep, it's probably going to be as technically advanced. It's going to be one that's going to have a lot more going to it. Going to have some nuts and bolts in my arm, I imagine, in order to reattach this graft, which I'm expecting, the Achilles tendon graft, to make my arm functional again. And in that, I feel pretty comfortable. I really, really do. In fact, I'm like happy that they're going to be able to fix it because I'm just 46 at this point. And one of the things that the doctor had mentioned was some people who are in that situation with a torn bicep, they'll just leave it alone. And it'll just eventually just sort of be there. And it's going to create weakness, though. Tremendous amount of weakness. And I'm too young. And I'm actually saying that I'm young at 46. There's still things that I need to fetch and carry, move stuff around. I don't want to necessarily lose the amount of strength that he was talking about if I don't get it fixed. I would lose a good 80% of the strength that I've got in my arm, and that's too much. Admittedly, if he said you might lose about 25% of your overall strength, I would consider not having the surgery, but 80% is a lot. It's too much. I need to get it fixed so that I can function properly, and that's what I'm going to do. Now, as far as what he told me that the recovery is going to look like, this is going to be the fun part. I've said it because I've had to do it multiple times with rehabbing an injured body part that had had surgery. It's going to take a minute. With this one, he said that I'm going to be casted for probably 2 weeks in order to begin the healing process of the graft. It's going to have to take some time to tighten up, essentially. And for that 2 weeks, it's going to be casted. After that 2 weeks, the cast, as long as everything's going well and there's no weird setbacks, I will then be able to move to a brace. And when I put the brace on, I'm going to have that on for about 4 weeks, about a month. So, this is one of those things that it's going to be on for a month. And then after that 6-week period of time, then I'll begin the long road to physical therapy. Now, going back to what I had said earlier about the fact that you have a window in order to fix this stuff, I have probably been right at the edge of what they'd like to use, about that 6-week period of time. On September 18th, which would be next week, as I'm recording this episode, I go in for surgery admission stuff, so to make sure that you're able to do the surgery. And then the surgery is going to be coming up the next week on the 25th. So this is a real bang bang thing. All of my other surgeries, like my knee, I hurt myself my first time in October, and I got surgery in December, just after Christmas of 2000. No, it wasn't 2000. Excuse me. It was 93. So October 93, I hurt myself. December 93, I'm having the surgery. The second knee one was in August. I got hurt, and again, 2 months later, in October, I had my surgery. My ankle, well, I destroyed that in August, and it was probably, no, it was definitely October 20, yes, October 2005 that I had the surgery. And the coolest part about that surgery to my ankle was that it was on Friday the 13th, which is kind of neat. Yep, surgery was on Friday the 13th. I like Friday the 13th. It's a good day. Speaking of which, this surgery, because of the nature of it, they want to do it as quickly as they can because, like I said, that window that they are able to use the bicep that's in there, you might be able to save it. But, like I said, to me, if they can graft an Achilles tendon in there, it'd probably be stronger anyway. Hopefully, that's what it's going to go. He was telling me that the re-tear possibility is it's almost none. He said it's between 1% and 4%. So there's almost no chance that it's going to re-tear. It's almost like my ankle ligament in that sense where they fixed it. This thing's been sturdy almost 20 years now. I expect nothing less because my doctor is very confident. And of course, the more confident your doctor is, the more comfortable you should be when you're getting ready to do this, especially when you're a surgical vet like me a little bit. Having a few of these different procedures, I feel more comfortable with a doctor who's more comfortable. Just the way it is. But essentially, after that 6-week period of time, we're talking surgery is going to be September 25th, and then the clock starts halfway through December. No, excuse me, halfway through October. We would be getting out of the cast as long as everything looks good. I would then be in the brace probably from the middle of October until the middle of November, and begin to start my physical therapy somewhere between the middle of November and the end of November, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'll be able to start my physical therapy, and that road is probably going to take me some months, easily 2-3 months of physical therapy. So just a quick guess, I would say I'd be doing physical therapy until February, give or take. And then at that point, just got to let it heal the rest of the way. And just like my ankle, my doctor said the bicep will be completely healed by about a year. About a year to completely heal. And that's pretty much the road that I'm heading down. I know a few people have checked out a reel that I made, and I'm going to kind of go through a few of those as I'm going to be making it a point of sort of documenting the procedure. I documented already in a reel my going to the doctor's appointment and the result of the doctor's appointment. I'm going to do another reel after I come back from the surgery, what do you call it, the appointment to make sure that I'm able to do surgery, and then I'm going to do my best to do some pre and post surgery videos as well. That should be interesting, and then I'll check in here and there on reels throughout that whole process all the way through, and I'm going to just sort of document this whole process, see where it goes. But that's story number 34. I can't believe that I had a story that I didn't necessarily want to tell, but at the same time, it is a story. It is more modern. Can't possibly be any more fresh of a story. And that's, I asked for it. I did say that I wanted to use some stories that were more current than some of the ones that I have been using. And you can't get much more current than one that happened within a month and is ongoing, even still, making it that much more spectacular, I guess you could say. Well, I am about to slam the door on this main event and ring the bell. And it's now time to move towards the next more fun segment. Next couple segments are more fun than this one. And those segments are as followed. We're going to start off with the Spear of the Week. And the Spear of the Week is more like the Spear of the Month. There's only one possible thing that could be speared, and that's my couch. Because if it were not for me lifting the couch just a little bit, I would not have this torn bicep. I would not be going through this surgery. And at the same time, I would not be doing this episode about me talking about how I have this torn bicep and I have to do surgery. So, without any doubt, the Spear of the Week is going to be my couch. Don't get me wrong, I do love that leather reclining couch. But boy, it definitely deserves a spear for what it did to me. When the cat goes to scratch it, I might not tell the cat to stop. Okay. Now, it's time for another fun segment. My NFL picks. Turns out, like I said, I'm a little bit behind on the picks, and it's just going to be a little bit weird, but bear with me. I've done only a couple of them, and I believe that I've done the picks for this week, which is, well, not this week, for week 1. My week 1 picks were, I had the Ravens over the Chiefs. That was a loss. I picked them 21-17. The Chiefs actually won 27-20. I hate both teams. I wish they could both lose. I was right about the Eagles game, however. Score, close. It came pretty close. I picked the Eagles 31-28 over the Packers, and they did in fact win 34-29. So I was kind of close on that one. Minnesota versus the Giants. I happen to think that the Giants are probably the worst team in the league this year. Well, maybe the Panthers. They're going to be fighting for the number 1 seed, both of them. Minnesota 24, Giants 14 is what I said. I get the win. Minnesota 28, Giants 6. They did worse than I expected. Well, the Commanders versus the Bucks. The Bucks did a little bit more damage than I expected. They got 37 points. They put up 20 more points than I said they were. And I also said they were going to lose, too. However, the Commanders did exactly what I said. I called them, they score 20 points. I lost that game, too. So the Commanders actually won. No, the Commanders lost 37-20. At this point, I'm 500. But this is why I pick 5 games. Because I want to either be above or below 500. I'm not going to just go 4. And so as a result of that, I had to pick my 49ers. And I had to pick them because they were playing the Jets. And I kind of figured Aaron Rodgers does not do good against the 49ers. Look it up. Check him out against when he was with Green Bay against the 49ers over the past 10 years. It's not pretty. He's not the best quarterback against the 49ers. He's just not. He wanted to be the first round pick for them, and chances are he'd probably be their quarterback right now. But it wasn't to be, and he seems to take a grudge and feel that he wants to show the 49ers why they should have picked him. But each time, it seems like the 49ers were right about him. they didn't need him. I said if Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt, the score was going to be 23-14 49ers. I said if Aaron Rodgers did get hurt, they were going to obliterate him 35-10. But it turns out that they still pretty much manhandled him, even when Aaron Rodgers didn't get hurt. 49ers 32, Jets 19. So after week 1, I have a record of 3-1. My head's above water. I feel good about that. Now, because I'm not the smartest tool in the shed and I have a lot of things that are on the fire right now, I did my week 2 picks right here, and I'm going to do my week 3 picks next week. But my week 2 picks are the Thursday night football game, Bills and Dolphins. I like the Bills 35-31. Giants and Commanders. I called it the Cousin Bowl. In fact, I think I did give these picks, but I'm going to give them again anyway. The Cousins Bowl. Chris and Timmy are Giants fans. Unfortunately, I'm not on your side. I think you're only going to score 10 points against the Commanders, who will score 20. And Jalen Daniels is going to get his win for the first time in his rookie year. And that quarterback that they way overpaid in New York, boy, he's going to just steal money from the Giants. I say Commanders 20, Giants 10. Bengals and Chiefs. Well, I think the Bengals are going to lose 35-38 to the Chiefs. I hate to say it, but I think that's what's going to happen. Chicago Bears, Houston Texans. Bears got a win last week, but now they're playing a possible Super Bowl contender. I don't think their rookie quarterback, who didn't really have a stellar breakthrough game, is going to be able to survive against a team like the Texans. I say Texans 27, Bears 10. And now the 5th pick that I'm going to go with, of course, is my 49ers again. And I very much see them defeating Minnesota. And the score 28-17. Christian McCaffrey may not play, but as we've seen, we're rich as far as running backs go. It'd be nice to have them, because then you could put them both in there and they'd probably score 50 points. But hey, I'll take 28-17 Niners over the Vikings. Now it's time for the closing segment. I think that I had a lot of fun doing this episode. Unfortunately, I'm in for it over the next few weeks. But make no mistake, since I started the show, the one thing that I have not done is skipped an episode. I have not done that once. I have not done it once. Even when I was sick with COVID for 3 weeks, I happened to have had a bunch of new episodes that I had recorded before I actually found that I was sick. So that kind of worked out nice. I had 5 weeks in the can, as they say, so that I had still fresh episode after fresh episode going out. With this surgery, I'm going to be indisposed the week of the 25th. I'm not going to want to do an episode, that's for sure. So I'm going to take the preventative measure and do at least 3-4 episodes. Load them up. Now, if there's any current events, I'll just do a reel. That's the only problem that I have with my Facebook, or rather my Spotify situation. I could just cut and splice and put stuff in there a little easier, but it doesn't work for me, brother, as Hulk Hogan would say, for my Spotify, for my YouTube channel. I don't have that set up. So, it is what it is. It's going to be what it's going to be. and I'm gonna do 2 more shows tomorrow, because maybe not tomorrow, but tomorrow or Saturday I'll put a few more in that'll be waiting to go, and I'll even maybe do a couple more next week. So I'll have about 4 more shows ready, so that all I have to do is upload them, so that I don't have to do anything too much. Just let it roll like that. Um, so you will still hear the lip here on YouTube with new episodes. There will not be any uh, old episodes coming back up. None of that. It's going to be straight up episode after episode after episode. If sometime that I have to actually not do an episode, I will let you know. But as far as right now goes, I'm going to keep them fresh. A new one every week. This is my 173rd episode consecutive, and on a different platform, but still 173 episodes. And trust me, I love that fact. I feel very proud that I have been able to do all of these shows, and they have been new shows every week. That's probably the most proud thing that I have as far as the lip is concerned. The fact that I am able to generate content every week, fresh content, and I've just that's the hook that I hang my hat on. But as far as this episode goes, I very much would like to ask everybody who has not subscribed to the YouTube show at Phil the Lip, please do so. Subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff. Join my Facebook page, or should I say our Facebook page. Join us. Become part of the Lip group. Join us. There's always room for one more. Instagram at Philip Henderson 5102. I like to say that I'm out there somewhere on X. And on that note, it's time for me to give you some words of wisdom. Or more like, give myself some words of wisdom that maybe will benefit all of you. Now, these words of wisdom are from the heart, and it's pretty obvious that when I say these, they'll make sense. The words of wisdom are: don't try to do stuff when you're in your upper 40s that you could do when you were in your lower 20s. It's just not going to work out well for you. Once again, don't try to do stuff in your upper 40s that you used to do when you were in your when you were in your lower 20s. It's just not going to work out for you. In my lower 20s, I could have picked up that couch with one arm, slung it over my shoulder, and pretty much kneeled down and picked up whatever I wanted, threw that couch right back on the ground. Yeah, it just don't work that way no more. Just don't work that way no more. But what I will say to you all is thank you for listening. My name is Phil, and you've just listened to The Lip.